everybody, and welcome to Betweenplays Stock Market Strategies. We have with us today James Stevens. How you doing, James?
Good, guys. Good to be with you.
And of course, our editor-in-chief over here, also in charge of the Technology Center for Betweenplays, Sandy
Thank you.
Pansar.
Thank you.
And so, James, it's an honor to have you here on Betweenplays. I've done some research on you, looked at a lot of tape, and I'm going to go just to touch up a little bit on what we know about you. I mean, we know a lot more, but we're not going to go and start, you got a long list, so we're not going to go there. Basically, we've seen you now like featured on Forbes. I know that you're on the Technology Council for Forbes, Vanity Fair, the Globe and Mail, Cointelegraph, Digital Journal. So I'm sure there's a lot more that we have back there, and there is a lot more that you've been featured on. What I'd like to mostly get on here is that what can you tell the audience about yourself, actually? What's a little bit of your past and what's brought you on here? And then we'll head into the company. I'd rather hear a little bit more about you first.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's definitely a pleasure and honor to be here. Love the show. What really started for me is my own personal journey of loss, and that was when I'm talking about within crypto and DeFi and all that. I was taken advantage of, and I was basically hacked and social engineered, if you were, in the early days, and lost a lot of money that way. And so what I did was I really turned that loss around over the years with my commitment and dedication to learning in this space, getting certified in this space, spending the decade in this space, and really taking the approach or the angle of defense against this for people. So that was something that was really important, and that's really how it started out for me. And then one thing led to another. And the next thing you know, you have a bunch of followers, you have a bunch of people that know you from projects. You build things within the space, and you have a community that's around you. And I felt like, last year was the perfect time to go ahead and launch Krown. And really, I'm a faith-driven man, and I felt like it was God telling me that this is really the time that you need to do this. And I was wanting to do something in this space, in the tech space, and DeFi that would benefit society as a whole, that would put stops to certain types of social engineering and phishing and hacking, and so that's really what started it all for me, and that's where Krown landed here today.
Actually, that's really interesting that you bring that up. I think that we touched up on a little bit before we actually started this this interview, and my followers know that we basically started out that way too. There was some clickbait articles. A lot of my friends got taken advantage of, and then I was like, forget about it. We're starting Betweenplays, and that's it. Can you also please touch up maybe on why name it Krown? Like, why Krown Technologies, and does that have to do with your faith?
No, it totally has to do with faith. In fact, even in the white paper and in the very beginning and in every interview, they ask that. And Krown stands for the crown of thorns, for Jesus Christ, which is my Lord and Savior. And so like I said, I'm a faith-driven man. And one day my wife and I, when trying to figure out what we were going to name Krown, we went through several names. I mean, a ton of names. And then finally it came to us after we prayed about it that Krown was it, but we were going to do it with a K to differentiate a little bit. And so once that came to us, everything else really fell into place because we leaned upon all the lessons that we learned, all the you would call it bad luck, if you will, right?
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
And all of the loss and everything. And we were able to turn that around with people even who knew me personally of my history, whether it was with the cancer. I'm a 3-time advanced stage cancer survivor, or whether it was in crypto itself. And every one of them, I called up just a few people afterwards. I said, I have an idea. And I couldn't even get the sentence out right before they were like, what is it? Let's go. And I was like, all right, good. I knew then that we had something. And then when I would finally tell them everything about it, it was just, it caught on like wildfire. And now here we are today, about to launch on January 3rd. And, we've created just an amazing, not just product, but ecosystem and chain. And, for me, it's all glory to God on that, because it's like everyone's told me. I've had a lot of people from different sectors even, and people who are in the technology sector in this specific, in DeFi, who told me, number one, how in the world did you build this chain this fast, which we have an amazing team, by the way. And then all the products and how, and then I send them the white paper in the early days. I send them the white paper, and I have to apologize to them because it's 200 and something pages long, and they're like, no, 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 we loved it. Usually you get about 5 or 10 pages and that's it, and it's over with. But we wanted everyone to know, and that's really what Crown's about. It's really addressing the needs that we saw, or that I saw over the last decade in this space,
Yeah.
and really kind of bringing about a new era of safety and trust. So.
Well, that's pretty interesting, actually, because when you're talking about safety and trust, well, let's actually with the faith thing, because I thought that was interesting. I know we touched upon this a little bit before, but I just wanted to show this because it's just very odd. We have like Saint Michael up here, and we got the Bible in the back,
Yeah, I see that.
right over there,
I love it.
and I thought that was very interesting because I mean, it's a small world, and then of course sometimes things happen, and then the next thing you know, you end up falling with like-minded people, and
Yeah.
I thought that was extremely interesting. Uh,
It's really nice too, and I don't mean to interrupt, but it's really
oh,
nice
good.
too, is that we have transcended ideological boundaries, religious boundaries, or people who have different faiths or different
Correct.
backgrounds, and you look at our community and it's like one big family.
Yeah,
And I think that's one of the most underrated things is that you can bring together people from all faiths, all
yeah,
backgrounds, but they're all in it because they see what you're doing. And there are two acronyms that I have in business, especially in this sector,
yeah,
that are extremely important. And Elon shares one of them, but it's ROI and ROE.
fair enough.
ROI is rate of innovation, and the ROE is rate of execution. And if you can do both of those while maintaining your transparency and your integrity, you will not lose. You cannot lose just because you've already addressed some of the major issues going on today in this sector. So I'm very proud of that, and that's what we're doing.
That's amazing. So, we've spoken about a little bit on the faith and also a little bit of your past. And of course, you're very sought out. And, I think that this is going to fly the further that you keep on moving on because there's a lot of interesting stuff there. Can we just maybe start and touch up on the tech a little bit? What is it that and because, there's a lot of people that we're introducing this to, right? So we're just
All right.
try to keep it in layman's terms
Sure.
and not get too fancy with all the tech talk, but at the
Okay.
same time, try to make us understand what is Krown. Okay, we
Sure.
touched about it a little bit, but what is it? What are
Yeah.
you delivering? Why is it needed?
Well,
Yeah.
why is it relevant? And also, what makes Crown unique?
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. Great question. You guys have the best questions. You know that. First of all, I get this. So it doesn't matter if it's an institution like a bank, or if it's just a retail investor that's asking. But the 10-second spiel is: imagine the human body. The Crown blockchain is the human body, and everything in that, all the organs inside of that, is the Camelot ecosystem. So those are all filled with about 30 products now, and each one of those gives back to the Crown chain itself. So they all feed the life of the chain, right? But what's really special and what really differentiates us is that not only are we a layer one, if you can imagine Ethereum, right? Layer one. So
Yeah,
imagine
Ethereum.
Ethereum,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
but on steroids. It's more
yeah,
rewards, right? More safe, faster, cheaper. There's a lot of differentiators, and but the biggest one was really about the security level of it. I wanted it to be extremely secure. I was looking over the horizon, what was coming next. I was talking about quantum 2 years ago, and people were smirking at me or patting me on the back in meetings and conferences and things. And they're like, "That's good. We're happy. Yeah, I know about that. I've heard about that." And you're like screaming at the rooftop. Our partners at Quantum Emotion, Dr. Francis Bolito, who's head of Quantum Emotion over there, he was saying the same thing 2 or 3 years ago. And nobody would listen to any of us. And now look at us. We've come together as partners, and no like credit to our own. It happened in a way that was, I don't know. It wasn't between us. I would just say that. And but anyway, so I wanted to create a quantum secured blockchain, and not
okay,
only that, I wanted to go a step further. I wanted every channel of communication, bidirectional, communication channels, all of the ecosystem products. I wanted those all quantum secured as well. And so I set out to write the paper for it. Uh, I probably had maybe 25, I don't know, iterations of it, but it was a lot. Finally got it, and then I assembled the team. So when I initially assembled the team, I felt okay about the team. I felt like, okay, maybe we've got something here. And Crown went through a very hard learning phase in the first few months. And a couple of people who were close to us, we felt like they were. didn't live up to the standard that we held for it, and so we had to part ways and we went a different direction. But I'm glad that we did, and thank God we did, because now we have the team that we have now. We brought on great people, some true, real pioneers in their space, including Dr. Bolito. Anyway, so that's what we set out to do, and that's how we differentiate ourselves, is with security, speed, cost, and then the sheer size of Camelot itself. I mean, think about every product. It could be its own company, but it's its own platform or its own service or its own product, like Castle. You guys have probably heard about Castle,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Yeah,
The first
Absolutely.
truly quantum secured hot wallet. So that's just a piece of it, though.
yeah. Because
So-
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to ask. So now you brought up Castle, right? So Castle is very, very interesting to me, right? Especially having a quantum background and just understanding how are you doing the security. And I don't want to get too technical for the audience, right? Because, but the thing that's really important is because right now everyone's using HSM and they're using a lot of, that kind of stuff. And then we've got different governments coming up with their own policies and standards around quantum.
Does that have to do with like NIST stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Okay.
NIST is got their own standards.
I'm learning.
Which he mentioned already, right? And EU's got their own standards, and then there's ISO 27001, and exactly, and then there's SOC 2, etc., right? And
FIPS,
so
FIPS,
exactly.
FIPS 143.
So I'm trying to understand how you're doing this without edge hardware.
Yeah, you and everybody else. So Quantum of Motion and Krown's teams, our quantum teams, have worked together. Let's just start with Castle. So Castle was released on November 1st. That took us about 6 months of intense R&D, and we a lot of testing as well. But I'm not going to get too far in the weeds on it, because how we handshake, what we call in the industry handshake, how our handshakes happen.
Okay.
What that means is how we communicate. Let's say an SDK, right? So SDK would be one example. So what we do is Quantum of Motion, their QRNG technology is true quantum entropy. In other words, it's complete randomness. It cannot be figured out, if you will. So in the world, in computers, let's say in classical era, classical computers, everything has a cycle. Everything has it's not completely truly random. But in the quantum realm, it is random. It's as random as the universe. And so Quantum of Motion's QRNG technology offers a quantum random number generator that produces all of these keys and these, these communication methods. So that is part of what we do. We pull from that. We line up with their QRNG, and it's installed in our wallets. And then on top of that, we have a PQC stack, post-quantum cryptography stack that's in Castle as well. But what we did was, the way we built it, without getting too technical, but by the way that we built it in a way where the latency did not become the problem. Because a lot of times when you're dealing with the higher up encryption that you get, and you know this, but the higher encryption that you get, the higher latency and the more burdensome it is on time and how it operates and everything else. But we figured out the way to not really, skip a beat, if you will.
Interesting. So let me ask you a follow-on question then.
Sure.
How are you dealing with the power and the power consumption?
That's one thing that we love, is that, so with regard to how it works on Krown's chain, it does not produce a load variance that we would see normally, that you might think of with a proof of work chain or something like that, because we have a hybrid proof of stake model, our consensus mechanism in the chain.
Okay.
So it's hybrid. So what we do is we save 91% of electricity. In fact, that is why, and I'll announce on your show today, I'm going to announce breaking news on your show today, is that that is why we have formed, as of this morning, a strategic partnership with the Texas Blockchain Council to move forward with them as a strategic partner in sustainability. We're opening up the crypto mining company. It's called Krown Mining Company. We're going to be opening up our own data centers there. We're going to be opening up our mining centers. And the way we operate these centers and the way the chain works, right, in conjunction with that, it saves 91% of electricity you would typically see on a POW.
Wow.
So we're very, very excited about that. You guys got the breaking news.
So I appreciate the breaking news from the Betweenplays media. So everybody heard it.
So I absolutely, and so then the other follow-on question, and maybe there'll be another one, but we'll see. I'm going to try to be delicate. So you guys have gone from proof of stake to proof of work.
No. Oh no. We went from proof. No. We never wanted proof of work. Because proof of work is such a demanding structure. The way it draws electricity is it's extremely burdensome on the grid. And
Yeah.
so we don't want that at all. That's why we decided we're going to do a hybrid proof of stake, which does not include proof of work, but it's a proof of stake and then proof of authority. So it's
Okay.
combined to, and
Wow.
it saves so much electricity and the draw is so small that it's well, it's unbelievable really compared to like Bitcoin or Ethereum V1, even V2, we're still lighter. So
I have a question for you. I have a question for you. So let's bring it back. Let's bring it back down a notch.
Sorry,
Because
Albert.
because
Sorry, guys.
because you
I get
guys,
no, I love it.
I get crazy
you
for
guys
this
could
stuff.
talk about this all day, but let's
Yeah,
and thank you for breaking that over here in between plays. Believe me, we'll be putting it out on all the networks.
sure.
My question is this about the quantum computers. Okay,
Okay.
so these quantum computers that you're talking about, I mean, like the research that I've done on it, we're talking about like they're like what thousands of times more powerful than a regular computer. Like stuff that would take like 300 years for a regular computer to solve, it can do in seconds or in minutes. And
Billions of times.
so
Billions
what?
or billions, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so what we're worried about is the fact that if we don't have something securing, something in place like what you're delivering, what
Yeah.
happens is that like like Bitcoin or all of these crypto companies, I mean, eventually could become worthless. Is that what we're saying? If we don't protect, like even the financial system alone, like because if we're going towards digitizing currency, we're talking about a massive threat here when it comes to quantum.
Yeah. I don't want to be a fear monger, but what I will say is, and let's just be real here. If we're gonna
Yeah.
get technical, you know what? Actually, I'll be technical about it because we need to be in order to justify this.
Okay.
Uh, the, the answer is yes, eventually.
Okay.
Eventually, you're going to have a break. You're going to have a hack. It's inevitable, especially with the commercialization of quantum computers
Yeah.
and
Of
bad actors, right?
course. Absolutely.
Not everybody's got good intentions with this.
No, and
And I think,
and everybody that knows me knows that, and everybody knows. Like, I'm an injured police officer, and I've seen bad actors in my lifetime. So
yeah,
yes, you're
yeah.
absolutely right, 100%. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's why we see too, and I know you guys agree. I think that's why you're seeing the NIST alignment as well, right? Because if you
Of
guys
course.
remember, it wasn't that long ago. You had even FIPS, so you had FIPS 140-2, I think it was.
Yep.
And then they moved to 140-3. There's a reason why we're moving this standard because it's quickly approaching us a lot faster. It wasn't that long ago. I think it was last year. They were saying it would be 2040. Yeah, 2040 that we would need to be worrying about it. Then they moved it down to 2035, then they moved it to 2030.
Whoa,
Now they're talking 2027. It's like we
that's
don't
like in
really
a few
know.
years.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
what I'll say is this, right, James, and give you something to pause it off of or position pivot off of. And again, it's just my observation, right? When you look at this market right now, and I'm really interested in hearing about what you have to say about it. What I have seen in my experience is that the transitive closure is happening very, very quickly. And
Yeah,
the distance between the end and the beginning is here, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I was telling people a year ago it was 5 years. Now I'm telling people it's 3 years. And now I'm going, is it 6 months?
Oh no,
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this is very, very real and practical. So I'd love to get your impression on that.
Yeah, well, I have a lot of colleagues on the inside, if you will, and there's a consensus here about how close we really are, and the consensus is that if you haven't started, you're behind,
Yep.
and again, that's why Crown was developed this way last year was to get this out before the end of the year, right around the beginning of the year for
yeah,
26. And then, like I said, I'll reiterate it again. Government institutions or standards organizations do not update unless there's a need to. If
correct.
they see an
Yeah.
absolute
Yeah,
need to or in your face moment's going to happen, because
yeah.
I tell people all the time, and I get this question maybe five times a day, is when's Q day coming, and like and how will I know? And it's I tell them all the time, it's not coming with some trumpet blazing
No, of
like
course
it's
not.
gonna like
It's
I'm
just gonna
here.
happen and
It's
somebody's gonna break
silent.
RSA. Absolutely.
It's silent, it's deadly in technical terms, and it will absolutely change lives in not a good way if they,
Hmm.
for bad actors. So yes, I see that, and we do, and I always say we never really know because we're still at the birth, if you will, the infancy of the quantum era. We're just now starting. We don't know the power of this. I mean, think about what it was not too long ago. There was a chip, or there was a simulation, or a quantum computer had done a calculation that would have taken the world's fastest supercomputers, I think, like 7 septillion years to solve. And that's the kind of power that we're talking about in folds, right?
Yeah,
Magnification. So
100%.
Wow, so that
yeah.
just basically looks like what I said, like look like an infant. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you know what? Because I have pretty much a last question, and the question is this:
Yeah.
for your product, because there was a pre-launch, right?
Yes.
And of course that's over with from
Yeah, the
what I
pre-sale.
saw. Yeah, the pre-sale, which is what I
Mhm.
saw on on the net.
Yeah.
And so for people to be able to buy your token and coin, like where do they go? How do they
Okay.
get involved?
Sure. So this is the perfect moment. This is the perfect moment to really bridge the gap between your native audience and the crypto and DeFi, right? Let's bridge the gap here. So if
Yes.
you've been into stocks your whole life, or let's say you've been in commodities, derivative, whatever you're in,
Yeah.
the Krown coin itself is a native coin. In other words, it will live on the Krown blockchain, and it will be traded in a way that upon launch, that whatever that buying pressure is. So it's truly up to supply and demand, and there's not a well, I bid this, or I haven't asked this, or I sell. It doesn't work that way. How it works is, what is the circulating supply that you have, and what is the liquidity that's in there,
Yeah.
right? And for us, we're in a very, very unique. I've only seen this happen once in the history of crypto, but we are at an 80% staking lockup or validator status right now. What does that mean? That means that of the circulating supply, there's only 20% of that that's allotted. Now, it's actually much lower because I have sections that are already allotted for certain things like partnerships, or contingencies, or things like that. So there's only going to be about 5 billion coins. There's 100 billion total supply like XRP, but there's only going to be 5 billion coins. And I have people writing us every day that are asking to buy tranches of it. I mean, tranches of it. And I have to tell them no. I mean, you guys saw the last thing. We sold out $500,000 in 4 hours and 18 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you can
Yeah.
imagine what it is now, and we're working with two of the highest, most well-known market makers too, as well, that helps us. This will help us with this.
Yeah.
Who knows what it's gonna do. But come January 3rd, we have our launch party, and it'll be at the Gaylord Opryland, and there's a lot of people that are gonna be there. We're gonna do it live.
Yeah.
The teams are gonna be there, technical teams are gonna be there. We're gonna have full systems checks, full countdown, like start, SpaceX and all that. So
Okay.
it's gonna be really fun. But you can buy it by either going on our DEX, which is
Yeah.
our decentralized exchange. It's called KDEX or Krown Dex.
Absolutely.
And that's go through our website as well. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's very easy to buy. If you already have crypto, then you can exchange it for that to buy. If you don't, you can on-ramp via your bank account or credit card, debit card through different payers like MoonPay or Stripe or different ones like that. So,
And may I ask one last thing in terms of, just to clarify, right?
yeah.
If you've got holdings in, say, I don't want to compete, but Binance or crypto.com
Yeah.
or whatever it is, etc., are they exchangeable?
Yes. Yes. In fact, if you see the Castle, wallet, we're already, and we're EVM compat anyway. So if you have something like Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever, you can absolutely buy with that. You can swap out on the DEX with that, and hundreds of other ones too.
That's really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? Basically, James, I thank you so much. Is there any last thing maybe that we didn't touch upon that you would like to say?
Well, I have one question I have to ask you guys.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What's in your bag? I hope you guys have.
Oh, yeah, I know. I saw.
Oh, good.
That was good.
Wallet?
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, man.
No problem. Thanks a lot, James. Really appreciate you being here. So everybody that's out there, that's James Stevens, Krown Technologies. Thank you, Steve, and hopefully, James, that you're going to come on in the future.
I will. You guys have one of the best podcasts that I've been on, man. I really appreciate it. Enjoy you guys so much. Great success ahead, I know. And let's stay in touch, okay?
Let's stay in touch.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.